Okay.
That's right. Everybody hit record. I, Bill Petrie, was wrong. If you're feeling great, then it's time for episode number 68. Okay. Promo UPFront Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, the private of the Power 50, the master of marketing himself, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Now, Kirby, how the hell are you? We are both resplendent in blue today. How are you today?
I love me some blue. You know what? I'm doing pretty well. You and I were talking right before we started. I feel like the team is filling out nicely. We've talked about Dustin coming back. So it's had me redefining sort of my role here, which is super interesting for me. And I'm just mentally in a pretty good space right now. So I'm doing well. How about you, bud?
Good. I'm doing great. I've been traveling a lot with seeing the kids. And so I'm kind of, while I'm bummed I'm not going to be at the Band Together event that I usually am every year with Danny Rosen. And I know you're going this year and quite a few people we know. I'm kind of amped up, and not just because my weekend is going to involve sitting in the backyard while it's 60 degrees outside and enjoying that. I'm also amped up because we get to share a message from our good friends over at Promo Pulse about their amazing AMP email service. Get the tie-in? I know you do.
It was impressive.
You remember those things, Kirby, retail-looking and user-friendly emails that are super easy to use. Kirby, how many steps are there?
There are 3 steps, my friend.
There are 3 steps. That's right. You choose your suppliers, and if you're part of a buying group or a large distributor, your suppliers are already uploaded. So you choose your list. You choose your suppliers, you upload your list, and then you choose your sending frequency. That's it. You set it, and then you just walk away. Literally at that point, you could burn your office down, and these emails will still be sent because they're all up in the cloud. Yeah. And you're going to have these consistent, beautiful outbound marketing all year round. You know what it is, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
It's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer, right? And tell me, you've had some great results with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And from the beginning, we were part of the beta group. And at the end of the day, it gives you an opportunity as another touch. So I think sometimes we look at it as that direct marketing piece, and hopefully you get it, they click on it, you get an order, but it's also another touch. And I think sometimes we undervalue that when people are seeing your name and your brand's name over and over again. That is powerful too. So good stuff.
It is. It's being in front of people all the time so that when the time comes, you're top of mind, Kirby. The email looks amazing. It's 1, 2, 3, easy to get started. We talked about that. It results in conversions, quote requests, and gosh darn it, revenue and profits. What a magical thing. So Kirby, again, it's a no-brainer. So if you're interested as a distributor and you want to get in on the ground floor of this, I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out. Head over to promopulse.io/AMP. Not going to be sorry you did. Now, Kirby, I believe I have the Promo UPFront section of the podcast today, but before I jump into my topic, I just want to touch, if you could just wrap up, kind of put a nice bow. You had an end user show last week and you had some planning about it, wearing masks. Yeah. And I wanted to hear just maybe a little quick minute or two. How did that go?
It went really well. The show itself was good. The numbers overall were down a little bit. And one of the things I've talked about is needing to reset expectations when you're trying to put on an event like that. I think the conversation around masks was very well received. You never know. This is not an area where people love to be told to do that sort of thing. I know a lot of areas are like that, but we just said, look, we want everybody to be comfortable. And sort of what we talked about last week is, I feel like if you walk in a room and no one's wearing a mask and you really want to, it's hard to be that first person. And so our staff wore masks during the thing. And I think, honestly, I think it was probably 50-50 of attendees and folks being there, which was honestly a little higher than I expected. So I felt really good about that. And then the other piece was interesting was while our numbers were down, our top customers were there. And so, that's who you really want. And so overall, I thought it was really well received. And just a quick shout out to the suppliers. Like,
Sure.
A lot of multi-line reps have been doing this longer than the company reps, just because they had that flexibility. Boy, what a bunch of pros, right? Like they roll in there, they set that up, they do a great job. And it was like, we kind of set the ground floor, and then they kind of are the show, really. And I'm so impressed with some of the suppliers and multi-line reps in our industry. So it was cool.
Awesome. Glad to hear it went well. Love the fact that you kind of set the tone. Hey, we're going to wear masks, and that's what we're comfortable with. I think that was a great thing to do. Again, it kind of gave everybody else permission to go ahead and do that without feeling like they had to be first.
Right.
And I love how you mentioned expressing your gratitude for the multi-line reps, kind of the unsung heroes of this industry.
Agreed.
Same with service providers, the unsung heroes of the industry. But honestly, in this case, they really do make that work. And it's a lot of work. I've been to end user shows. I've been part of planning end user shows and executing them. Without those end user suppliers, without the supplier reps, those things just frankly don't happen. And it's effort, it's time, it's commitment at every level of an organization. So glad it went well, and kudos to you. All right, Kirby, let's jump right into the promo upfront section of the podcast.
Okay.
Let's talk some Power 50 lists. That's right. That's right. That's right. Now, I have a long and rich history of complaining about this list. And I'm here to tell you, I now love this list. I was wrong.
Okay.
That's right. Everybody hit record. Bill Petrie, was wrong. That will lead the podcast.
I'm not saying anything because that's what's going to.
Yeah, I know. So I've come to love this list because it's a really cool way to look at individuals and how their actions not only shape the present of the promotional product industry, but the future of it as well. And I actually spoke with Michelle Bell about this, who was lovely enough to provide the graphic we're going to use for the podcast this week. And I asked for that. And we were talking about it. And one of the misconceptions I think people have about this list, because they wonder, why is the new CEO over at Polyconcept number 49? It's not about Polyconcept. It's about the individual. So David Nicholson, who left Polycon, or no longer CEO, he's there in a consulting role, is been replaced. And so there's something different there. And so when you look at this list, it's really about the individuals, not the companies they work for. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. But I did want to run through some things on the list. I'm sure you've looked at the list, Kirby, because I know this is like your Christmas. You love this list like nobody else.
I do. I enjoy the list. And I like that perspective, by the way, of the idea of it's about the individual. Now, I will say the only pushback I would give to you is it's about both, right? Like, because if an individual is representing a company that doesn't have any influence in the industry, it doesn't matter how dynamic the leader is, there has to be something behind them. Otherwise, I don't think it makes sense.
It's a mixture, but I think it's with the individual leading that designation in that place.
Yep, I'll buy that.
So a couple that jumped out at me. Phil, the chief strategy officer over at BAMCO, Phil Kusid, love that as number one, because they've done some great things in terms of especially leading during the pandemic. BAMCO was very instrumental in doing that on a distributor level. A couple other ones that jumped out at me: Larry and Justin Zavadil over at 10. Thought that was great.
Yep.
Jim Shannon over at SNS Activewear, up. He's at number 12 now, up 13 spots from last year. And I'm not sure that's high enough considering the brands that SNS carries, the way they have built their model out to have multiple warehouses across the country to really fulfill orders as quickly as possible. So I love that. Number 19, Ashley McCune over at Facilis Group. I had the pleasure of working with Ashley very, very briefly, like for a weekend. So I don't know her very well at all. But what I do know about her, she's super capable and extremely bright and intelligent, and also extraordinarily innovative, which shouldn't be underscored. So I think that's a great one. And then I thought this was interesting. Lance Steyer and David Miller from NC Custom, which used to be Chocolate Inn and Landco. They're number 25, up 15 spots. I have no idea why. That to me was, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. I'm certainly not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I don't know what kind of influence they really wield in terms of driving the industry. Now, again, I really might be missing something here, so hopefully you can educate me.
Yeah, I think I've met Lance. I've met David a long time ago. Met Lance fairly recently.
I've met both of them. Great
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, and so I would say that they're one of those that actually. My pushback on that, just from a positivity perspective, would be I think they have the ability to drive some sort of purchasing just based on because they own more companies.
Yes.
It's not just Lanco and Chocolate Inn. They also have a retail presence as well. And I think part of their goal is to bring some of that into and put it in talking to Lance about it. So my guess is that has something to do with it.
Okay. You might be onto something, because I was also looking at the new entries this year. There's quite a few of them. And what I noticed with the vast majority of the new entries, they're really outside the industry, but what they do impacts our industry.
Okay.
So maybe you're onto something with that one. So Mark Katz over at Custom Inc. They're not really, they're in our industry, but they're not really in our industry. You know, right. It's online, and he was at 26. Catherine Monson over at Fast Signs, number 29. Kathy Chang, who is in our industry, over at Redwood Classics, coming in at number 40, which I thought was great.
Yes.
And then the one that I thought that was super interesting, and I think the one that probably got the most pushback.
Okay.
Dale Denham at number 50 for PPAI.
Yep.
And I want to get your take on it, and then I'll share mine.
Okay. I think that my guess is the rationale behind it. I'll kind of give ASI benefit of the doubt, is like he's brand new to the position. And so there's probably an idea that, look, he'll be higher next year, but at this point he's still in learning phase. And I think Dale would say that. But the idea that he doesn't have more influence than he's ultimately going to be in the top 10 of that list, or it's not an accurate list. And I think that would be my pushback on that. But I do understand if the rationale is, look, he's still brand new, have him have an expo under his belt, and then we'll talk. I can see that. I can see that argument.
I think that is the rationale. That's my understanding. So I think you pretty closely hit the nail on the head.
I mean, that's literally what I thought when I read it. I was like, it must be because he's brand new, because otherwise he should be way higher.
But if the company you're associated with giveth, it also taketh away. And if we're being all honest here, PPAI is going through a huge transition right now.
Sure.
And it's going to take them time to rebuild the level of service, the level of influence that they had. That's not to say that they won't. And I think Dale's the right guy to do it, and will do it quickly. So I thought 50 actually was about accurate. And I think Dale would agree. You know, Dale now has the opportunity to do what he does as an individual, but also leveraging PPAI and that platform to really chart his own course in the industry with PPAI, that engine behind him. And as always, this list is completely null and void. And I hate it because Tim Andrews isn't on there. We've talked about that before. I tell Michelle Bell this every time it comes up. There's no reason that Tim shouldn't be on there. And I know my understanding is he recuses himself.
Yeah. And I get it.
But I think that's wrong. I would tell Tim that, and I understand it. If I were in Tim's shoes, that would be my first thought too. Gosh, it's our list. How self-serving is it if I'm on there?
Yep.
But I'll use an example that Danny Rosen used on me once, when Sandy, my wife, was going through a pretty hardcore recovery from a sudden cardiac arrest in our home, and he and a group of people wanted put together a GoFundMe page, and I refused to share it on my timeline. And I just was embarrassed. It just felt weird. I don't want to ask people for money. And he said, you are being selfish. You are depriving people who all they want to do is help you.
Yep.
All they want to do is help you, and they don't know how to do it. And this is the only way they know how. Stop being such a selfish asshole and share the link. And he was right.
Yeah.
In this case, I would really like to see Tim and ASI put him on that list, because he deserves to be on that list.
Yeah, so I think put him on the list, and if he's on the list and he's number 1 every year, it would be weird. If he's on the list and like he's number 11, you're like, yeah, okay, that feels right. And quick pushback on what you said about Dale, because you were like, look, PPAI has gone through a transition, and obviously they have. Yeah. But on the other side, if you were to put together an industry event and you said, oh, I would like to have Tim Andrews and Dale Denham speak, you go, oh, wow, this is a real event, right? Yeah. Why? Because they have so much influence in our industry. Right. Like, so.
Well, Dale's on the list. He's number 50. I think that's where for right now, that's where he needs to be. Yeah, okay. Now, I checked. Now, what ASI doesn't know, Kirby, I'm in deep into the archives. They have no idea what kind of internet sleuthing I can do. Okay. You, my friend, are number 74 on the most powerful list. So congratulations on that. Now, I had to leaf through a lot of pages, and I am number 2,301. So we've got our work cut out for us for next year.
Yeah, whatever. No, it's a really, again, we talk about it every year. I love lists of all kinds. You do. I think they're fun. This was one of those where I didn't have a lot of issue with it. The only one I had where I was like, and I did want to say, I think Kathy Chang being on there, like she has become such a model of doing business in a certain way that, again, I think it's worthy of another shout out. But yeah, my only pushback would have been Dale, and I think Dale should be higher, but
no. And your pushback is completely wrong. So anyway, do you have another topic you'd like to bring up, Kirby? And thank you to Michelle Bell for kind of chatting with me a little bit about this today.
Absolutely. So this is a topic I got off LinkedIn, and the headline of it was QR code backlash has begun.
Oh boy,
which I thought was fascinating. So talked about how QR codes in the early part of the pandemic were like a staple in restaurants because we didn't want to touch menus and all that sort of thing. But as establishments are increasing their capacity, the QR codes are becoming unpopular with diners. And I'm trying to say it impacts the bottom line, where they've shown that reverting to paper menus has not only increased sales, but it's increased guest satisfaction. So now, whereas I am like I was surprised by this, and not right, like, but
not at all.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it's not QR code backlash has begun, in my opinion. It is QR codes specific to restaurants when there's other options. Do you think? I guess that the question is, are QR codes going to, like, because they came up, they went away, now all of a sudden they were back again. Are they going to go away again?
But I don't know. Here's why the report you shared doesn't surprise me. I've used my phone to scan QR codes at restaurants, and it's been an amazingly easy experience. I have scanned QR codes at restaurants, and it's been nothing short of frustrating as all hell.
Yeah.
So I don't like your mileage may vary experience. I don't care for that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I hate about the QR codes in the restaurant substituting for menus, I go to restaurants so I can enjoy the company of who I'm with. And the last thing I need is a reason to stick my face in my phone. For whatever reason, I know you could say you're sticking your face in a paper menu, but for some reason that seems a little more social than being on your phone. And so I think I don't love the QR codes in the restaurants. I think there's a place for them. Now, see, here's where I'll kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth. Okay. In a sit-down restaurant, I don't like them at all.
Right.
At a bar with a long beer list, I think that's a perfect application for them. I can check the beer, learn a little bit about them. Plus, from an inventory perspective, as we are still experiencing supply chain things, it does give the restaurateur an opportunity to take things off the menu, a little more quickly than, I'm sorry, we're out of that tonight, a paper menu. So I don't think they're going to go away. I just hope there's a little more standardization, so that it's a good experience. I mean, how many times when you're at a restaurant, you scan it, you look, you kind of decide on something, and then you go, oh, I want to look again. I'm like, I got to scan it again. It's this continual friction.
Do they have Wi-Fi? And so it's really slow. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. So I think from the perspective of specific to the menu, right? Specific to food service, I think they are going to go away to a degree. I actually like your example of the bar, because there are some places you go in and you're like, I don't want to touch anything. So but yeah, a nice restaurant. I want a menu at this point. And there are ways to print menus that you can still wipe them off and make them sanitary. I actually think where it's not going to go away are other platforms, other uses of them, because the technology has become so much better. Like, I actually see the promo industry is continuing or growing in using them to drive people to specific sites. You've got a hiring event, and there's, you go to a career fair and you scan in their thing and you can apply right there. I think it's about the application, not about just the QR codes. If you take it out of food service, I don't think they're going away at all.
No, I don't think they're going away at all, but I do think they're going to go away in food service for the most part. Yep. I think that probably.
Cool.
All right, Kirby. Sales is dead, Kirby. Sales is dead. That's right, Kirby. I'm declaring it deceased today. Sales is dead. Marketing and content. Yeah, marketing and content is the new sales. Now, stick with me here for a second.
Okay.
In the traditional sense, when I think of sales, now people have gone to market. Sales is one of these management fantasies, and it's a prospect and client nuisance, right? Think about that. What's the traditional approach, Kirby? I'm going to somehow contact someone, whether it's through a phone call or a regular cold call or whatever. I'm going to contact someone. They're forced to engage with me or ignore me, one or the other. Let's say that they finally engage with me, but if they do, they're usually interrupted. They're in the middle of something. So you're already in a slightly hostile situation. And then you end the phone call with, well, hey, if you need they're happy with their current supplier, provider, or whatever. And you say, well, hey, if you ever need anything, give me a call. Like they're ever going to remember you. Sales in the traditional sense is dead. Customers and prospects do not want to be placed in those situations any longer. So I'm being a little flippant. What I'm really thinking here, Kirby, is cold calling is dead. Any sort of, I don't know, I'm going to go to this building and canvas. I'm going to send out emails to people. I have no idea who they are. I think that's dead. I think the goal is to have only warm calls, because the buyer's already signaled that they're interested. Now, I've got a couple ideas here, but I want to get your reaction to my vitriol first.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but what I would say is what you are saying is shitty salespeople are dead. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was working well 5 years ago. Going into just random places and calling and not knowing anything about the business. I mean, these are the kind of things you and I have been railing against for years. That wasn't a great solution before, but I think that so my initial, is it better if everything's a warm contact? Is it better that they found out about you through content? Yeah, absolutely. But I also think, I still believe there is service in sales. And what I mean by that is guiding people to things that they know they should do, but people are not great at making decisions to change. And sometimes sales is the act of guiding them there.
Okay. So you hit the word you use that's correct is service. That's really what it is.
I use a lot of words that were right, but I hear what you're saying.
That's the main one that was right. I mean, here's the thing, but how many companies do you know when they say, man, we need to hire salespeople, we want someone aggressive, we want a hunter, we want someone who's going to, I hear that still way too often. It's ridiculous. And warm calls are obviously, we all want them, but it's time to invest less in this antiquated thought of, I need a hunter, I need someone who's going to go get me some business. And because I still hear that all the time. And I know you do too, because I see you nodding your head.
Yeah.
It's time to focus and invest more in marketing and less on that traditional hunter. And the focus should be more on what you're talking about. So we're actually kind of converging here. It's that relationship building. It's helping people get what they want. And sometimes they don't even know what they want. There's where the sales part comes in, but it's not this, I'm hunting, I'm getting this. It's not selling, it's listening and discussing and finding a solution. It's using marketing to pre-qualify. So when they do come to you, they're already halfway sold. I mean, shit, Kirby, what's the close rate on your traditional hunter? 5%? Yeah. What is your close rate? And I'm serious. I'll tell you what our close rate is. What is your close rate on? Because you and I approach sales very similarly in terms of we want people coming to us,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
What's your close rate? 60, 70%, a lot higher than 5%.
Yeah.
And ours, ours is about
high.
60 to 80%. So,
because by the time, again, like you said, once they're in the funnel that way, it's really not about whether they're going to buy, it's about what they're going to buy. And that's why they've come to us, is to find out what they should, right?
Correct.
So what I saw, and I think you agree with this, is I love this topic. So this is great. I've been thinking a lot about it. Is I think that what we saw over the last 18 months is the salespeople who were more marketing friendly, who understood how to market themselves, who how to do personal branding, who would take the marketing from the company and then would promote it and would engage with it. The things we've been talking about for years, those folks seem to do well during this. I've seen several people. I'll give a shout out to Meg Erber. You had mentioned SNS earlier. She's one who I use as an example, who has really catapulted herself sort of into the industry spotlight, because she's like, look, I can go in and show you the shirts and stuff like that, but doing the podcasting and doing TikTok videos and setting herself up, she has all of a sudden I think of her. And so because she's melded sales with marketing, those are the people who I feel like are doing better.
Agreed. The challenge is getting people, and I hate the term sales funnel. It's something else I'm going to talk about probably in about 3 weeks when I really want to formulate my thoughts on that. But it's really just getting people involved in the process. And that's the hard part. And we used to say in our organizations, hey, every person in this organization is a salesperson. I completely disagree with that. Every person is two things in an organization. One, customer service. But two, just as important, every person is a marketer. So you use Meg Erber as an example. The reason she does the things she does is the same reason you do what you do, I do what I do, is so that when our target audience is ready to buy, we're top of mind.
Yeah.
I said it earlier, you keep people in their mind, so that when they want to buy, you're top of mind and they think of you. So it's an interesting topic. But I do think traditional sales, for the most part, is really, really dead. That initial start now, from my perspective, it's not about the cold calling and the hunting. It's about being approachable. It's about explaining who you are and the values you provide in ways where it makes potential clients and prospects, same thing, want to come to you.
Yeah. And so it's interesting timing, right? Because we're getting ready to roll out sort of a new service that we're going to do. And I do find myself back in that traditional sales role. But it's funny because I haven't done a lot of content around this yet. And so what I've found is I'm reverting to doing sales and trying to set up appointments so that I can get up and do an actual sales presentation. But I think you still got to do that. Now, the caveat is I'm reaching out to people I already have a relationship, so I'll set that appointment, right? I get
exactly.
But in that moment, I'm sitting in front of them. I need to explain to them why they should give a shit about this, and that's sales.
No, that's relationship building and explaining. It's you're not selling to me is you're trying to convince someone to do something they may or may not want to do. So, and I think in that moment, I mean, we can sit here and parse words. We're kind of saying the same thing. In that moment, you're trying to make sure that the solution you have is going to benefit them. So at the end of the day, they're happy with the solution. You're happy with the price you charge. It's just an interesting topic.
It is. It's a great topic. So I appreciate you bringing it up. It's fun because it hits so close to home, because I'm literally, that's sort of what I'm kind of living in right now. So it's really interesting.
The other thing I'd add real quick. So I know you're about to roll out a new service and you want new customers, people who don't know who Kirby Hasseman and Hasseman Marketing is, I'm assuming. Is your first approach going to be knocking on a door, picking up a phone, or are you going to be using some sort of marketing to soften that blow before you show up?
It's a great question. And honestly, because it's a new service, is a service that we've not offered to our current client base. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk to our current client base about it. So I'm not knocking on new doors, because then if I can get what I always call low hanging fruit, these are people who already like, know, and trust us. Well, then we'll have the data to show new prospects that it works. Does that make sense?
Yes, but how will you approach them?
Oh, I think you're right in the sense that, but because that's what I do, right? We do content.
And I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's the approach now.
Yeah.
It's not just about, canvassing a building or blasting out 1,000 emails to people you don't know. I'm not saying email marketing is wrong. I'm just saying it's part of that soft sell or marketing approach. Anyway, we could go down a rabbit hole on this. Do we have time for one more? Or do you have another one, or you want to go to a game?
I'll tell you what, let's do a super quick one because we are getting
super quick
to the time.
And usually we say super quick, and then 10 minutes later, I promise we'll be quick.
Okay, so this is a hybrid events is the deal.
Yes.
So Common SKU is doing SKUCon at in Vegas, but they are offering a hybrid component so people can listen, watch in. Not a surprise that they would do something that was, I think, pretty cool like this. So kudos. But I'm curious. This was a topic of conversation. Oh, hybrid's going to become a thing. I'm curious of whether it is. I want to know. In my mind, I'm wondering if we can do live events again. That's what we're doing. Common SKU is doing both, and I give them credit for doing it. I wonder if this hybrid concept's going to go the way of the dodo bird for most places.
I say it goes the way of the dodo bird for one reason only. There is a vast difference between experiencing something and seeing it. When you are virtually seeing something, when you're seeing it, when you're watching a television show, when you're watching Hamilton, the play Hamilton, when you watch it on Disney Plus, you are seeing it. When you're in the theater, you are experiencing it. Not that one is better than the other, but they are radically different. So I think you'll pick which way you want to consume that, based on proximity, based on a number of things.
Yeah. And I think that what Mark, I've talked to Mark Graham a little bit about this. What the hybrid does give you is, and I'd say from our team, is that people who wouldn't take to Vegas. That isn't what they do, but they could experience it in some different way. And so I think that's where, if you can do it, it makes a ton of sense. I'll just be curious to see if people do it.
I love that it's being offered. I just don't think it's a long-term thing. I think it's one or the other. And again, it's a different experience, period.
Okay, cool. All right, man. You ready for the game?
It is time to mullet it up for the party in the back, Kirby. What you got? Let's get going.
All right. So I love that you just talked about the experience of live Hamilton versus Disney Plus Hamilton, because the theme, we're going to do a fill in the blank, and the theme this time is live music.
All right.
Yeah. I thought you might like this. Okay. So I'm going to give you a sentence with a little fill in the blank. Give me whatever you got. Okay. Okay. The best thing about having live music back is
just being immersed in the experience. I can listen to things on my iPod, or I can watch on YouTube. It's just different when you're there. You get to notice all the small little things. You get to decide what you're watching, as opposed to the camera deciding what you're watching.
No, I love that. That's great. I love it. The worst thing about going to live music again is,
for men, the word trough comes to mind when you have to go to the restroom. There are a few things worse than having to use a trough. The second worst thing, bass solo.
Okay. All right.
Third worst thing, drum solo.
All right. So parking's not on the list. I was a little surprised about that. Okay. No. The band or artist you most want to see live in the next 6 to 12 months is?
That's a really good one. I'd have to say right now, top of mind is Tremonti. He was the guitarist in Creed, which I know people will wrinkle their nose at. And I'm not a huge Creed fan, but he's also in Alter Bridge, and has a side project where it's just him, and it's a very heavy hardcore scene, which I want to hear. So I'm going to say that, but I also really want to see Zach Brown here in the next 6 months.
Zach Brown. So
I'm going to go.
Have you ever seen
super? No. So I'm going to go super low key, and then super hardcore raging death metal.
Beautiful. Yeah. Zach Brown is a great show.
Yeah.
The best live.
Oh, Wolfgang Van Halen. Sorry. I want to see Mammoth WVH. I tried to go see him twice, but he opened for Guns N' Roses, and I didn't want to go see that big stadium show again. So 3. You got three.
Okay.
Three.
That's great. That's good. Actually, Wolfgang, that's a good one.
Mammoth WVH. Yes, sir.
So the best live music venue you have ever been to is?
Easily the Ryman Auditorium here in Nashville. It's the Mother Church of Country Music. It's called that because it was built as a Mormon tabernacle. And so acoustically, it is the richest sounding room I've ever been in. I saw, believe it or not, Alice in Chains there, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And just like I said, acoustically pristine.
That's awesome. Okay. So the best band or artist you've ever seen live, and I say that as a different caveat, not your favorite band, but somebody who really performed well live.
Yeah, the show I walked out just kind of shaking my head and wow was Paul McCartney in 2002.
Really?
We were living in New York City at the time, and it was about 8 months after the 9/11, after the World Trade Center, the attacks on the World Trade Center. And we got just amazing seats, sat on the floor, and it was one of those, people watching things. You see Chris Rock walk over here and Howard Stern's walking around over there and Billy Joel's back behind you. And so that was kind of weird. But just I'll never forget when he sang Freedom, which was a song he wrote at the time about, just being an American, all that. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. That was one of the shows I walked out of just, wow, that was just mind-blowingly amazing.
That's cool. And by the way, the humble brag that you got seats in front of Billy Joel was super well done.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. So,
I'm not going to tell you where Dee Snider of Twisted Sister was sitting.
Okay. The band or artist that you think has the best merch is?
Best merch. I have to say Foo Fighters have really, what they do, every town, they have a dedicated poster just for that show. They have dedicated merchandise just for that show. And I think they do it better than anybody else in terms of, creating that. I went to see them in, Euclid, Oklahoma, or wherever someone may have gone and seen them. I think it's great.
All right, cool. Just a couple more. This is fun. I thought you might like the whole live music topic. All right. The band or artist you would most like to hang with after a show is?
Oh, that is a good one. I've always said, can I go any era, anytime?
Don't care.
I'm going to say Van Halen. Right about 2 years after Sammy Hagar joined the band, there was a period of 5 years between 85 and 90 where every time you saw those guys, they were smiling. They looked like they were having the best time on the planet. Yeah. And I thought that would have been a fun hang.
Okay. I dig that. If we didn't mention Van Halen at some point, that would have been weird.
I'm trying, I'm not deliberately not mentioning Van Halen, but I'm answering your questions honestly.
Yeah, I love it. The band that you like, but were not a huge fan of live is?
Speaking of Van Halen. No, actually, David Lee Roth. They did, he and Sammy Hagar did a tour in 2002. Called it's like the Heavyweight Champs of Rock tour.
I remember that, yeah.
And they alternated on nights who would open and who would close. And Sammy Hagar opened the time I saw them, and he was great. And David Lee Roth came out looking like a platinum Frankenstein Skeletor dude, was dressed in sequins. And it was like the worst Van Halen cover band I've ever seen. And I walked out.
Well, that was really cool, man. That was really fun. And I appreciate your perspective. That was it.
Man, nailed it. I want this to be like a 5-hour-long podcast now. Because I am so that type of topic, man. I got to tell you, it amps me up. You know what else amps me up, Kirby? It's that email service from our good pals over at Promo Pulse. That's right. Oops. Jason Noakes did it again. Speaking of great songs by the one and only Britney Spears. That's right. He did it again. We've talked about Promo Pulse and their amazing AMP email service. Three steps to doing it. You choose your suppliers, you upload your list, you choose your sending frequency, then you set it and forget it. So I guess that's 5 steps, with step 5 being forget it. So it's that easy, elegant email solution delivered right to your clients, and it keeps you top of mind so that when they're ready to buy from you, you're on their mind. It is a no-brainer. We've talked about that. Great results. Turn leads into conversions and sales and profits like this. That's right. A snap of the finger. It's just that simple. So anyway, you want to learn more? Of course you do. Head over to promopulse.io/amp. you're not going to be sorry that you did. Now, Kirby, I want to thank you so much for having the courage to podcast with me. I bid you a fond adieu.
Free Britney.
That's right.